had to throw my cat out.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. Tori's with us. Good. That's awesome. All right. So welcome, everybody. Welcome to our panel of Ask a Virtual Assistant. We've had some little glitches today, but I was just saying to these lovely ladies that, being a virtual assistant is such a cool thing because there's really nothing we can't fix, right? There's nothing we can't fix. So before we jump into our panel, I want to say something directly, and that is, you've spent time with me this week, and you've done the trainings, you've done the mindset work, you've answered the questions about what you want and what's been holding you back. And now you're about to hear from 4 women who were exactly where you are. They had the same doubts, the same chicken chatter, the same, can I do this? And they decided anyway. So I want you to listen with different ears today. I want you to listen, not just for information, but I want you to listen for yourself. So listen for the woman who sounds like you, who started where you're starting, and who was scared in the same way that you're scared. And then I want you to watch what happened when she bet on herself. All right, good. So, all right, welcome everybody. So let's jump in. I'd love to start with you guys introducing yourselves and telling everyone what was your background, before you were a VA. A lot of people are trying to see themselves, they used to be teachers, or they were in retail, or they haven't had a job for a million years, and they're worried about what they need to be successful. So why don't we start with Tori, and then we'll go around. So your name, where you're located, and what you were doing before you were a VA.
Well, hi, everyone. I'm Tori Eubanks, and I am in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Where I was before I launched my business, I had been a homeschooling mom for 13 years and had been out of the workforce. So I'd been out of it for really 18 years since my daughter was born. So I'd been out of the corporate world where I had come from, and really didn't know what the next steps would be and what my future would look like until I found Belinda.
Awesome. Great. So Lori, why don't you jump in?
So I'm Laurie McAleenan, and I am in Chesterfield, Virginia, which is just south of Richmond. What I was doing before I became a virtual assistant, well, I was a stay-at-home mom. I was that for, 12 plus years. I also ended up homeschooling our kids and supporting my husband's career. We moved around a whole lot. And I did some side hustles and stuff, just to volunteer and whatnot. It was corporate before that, but before I became a virtual assistant, I was stay-at-home mom.
Great. Good. Sandy. We can't hear you if you're talking.
I just had to change my name.
Oh, I was wondering about it. So Sandy just recently got married. So good. I'm glad you changed your name.
Sorry about that. So my name is Sandy Goodell, and I'm in Massachusetts on the South Shore. I worked as a corporate executive assistant to CEOs at very large companies in advertising and biotech. And I started my business during the pandemic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Jennifer.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Grant. I'm in Northern Ohio. We're going on our second foot of snow today. So we are huddled in, but so I kind of did a lot of things before I started my VA business. I trained and certified as a teacher. I was a stay-at-home mom for a while. I ran a daycare out of my house. And then for most of the time, I worked part-time in some capacity, some administrative support capacity for community public service agencies, a couple of private companies, and immediately before I started my VA business, I had been laid off from a private company due to the pandemic and some downsizing and reorganizing, and had been unemployed for several months. And so I had worked all through my kids growing up and being in school, at least part-time, and needed something that would fit our new family needs. So I did quite a bit, and being a virtual assistant has been the best decision I could have made for the time in our life that we needed it. So.
I love that. So that goes right into my next question. So Jennifer, why don't you keep going? So the question is, and something I want to say for the people who are watching, please add your questions. These women are open and available to ask any question. All right. So please don't be shy, because this is really about you. So Jennifer, what was it about? How did becoming a virtual assistant catch your attention? What about it was appealing, and how did that pan out?
So at the time I was laid off, one of our children was going through some significant health challenges, and I needed to be available for him on short notice on a daily basis if I needed to stay home with him. And so that had been a struggle at where I was working. And when I started to look for a new job, I couldn't bear the thought of having to go to a new employer and say, hey, I'm not going to be in to work today, right off the bat. And so I had actually thought about virtual assistant like 10 years ago, but that was, before the internet was big, and didn't have any idea how to start or what to do, and just never took the initiative to try to figure it out. And so I was familiar with the idea and started the Google search, and at that point decided that was really the only way I could bring in income that would fit the needs of the family and for me to be available for our son. And so I was absolutely determined to make it work. And so it's worked out very, very well for us. But that determination, and then of course VA school, answered all the questions that I had about how to make it work, and was absolutely monumental in me being successful and being able to get things up and going in a short period of time.
So that's all. I love that. So what I want to make sure everyone's hearing is that what I think you said was that you could work from home and be, for the most part, be able to drop whatever you were doing, attend to a family member need, and still make money.
Yep. Yeah. The fact that I could work at any hour of the day, and, even from any place, if we needed to go to an appointment, and I needed to take my laptop with me, or just to be home to be available with him. The complete flexibility of schedule is really what we needed. And it has continued to prove to be my, top benefit in the business.
And did your clients care?
Oh, no, I don't even, they don't know when I'm working. So I do the work when I can, and when I feel like it. And I communicate, deadlines and expectations with them. This is when this will be done. Or if there's a problem, it's like, hey, something's come up and I've got to move this back. But that doesn't happen very often because I can work in the middle of the night if I need to.
Right.
It really, it's absolutely 100% flexible. My clients don't even know.
Yeah. I'm glad that you said that, because I know a lot of people. So when you're used to a job mentality, which is they know everything, they know when you're in the restroom practically, right? From a job mentality, it is a huge shift. And sometimes, I think people struggle to wrap their brain around it. Like, wait, what? Like, you can, because it's so foreign from anything else we've ever really seen. It's like, well, how does that work? It's like this magical corner over here that nobody told you about, right? But we're telling you now.
It does, yeah. It's fantastic.
All right, awesome. Good. All right. So Lori, why don't you jump in next?
Okay, so remind me of the question. Sorry.
Yeah, I was afraid you were going to ask me that.
I had my notes and I was listening to Jennifer's story. And I was just and I'm like, oh wait, sorry.
I do the same thing. I get so wrapped up in the conversation that I can't remember how it started. Yeah, that's funny. That's good.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
So
Probably our ADHD.
was what I was doing and getting started.
Yeah, so really what I want to talk about is the flexibility in your lifestyle. And how did I now or no?
That's right.
How did you first find out about being a VA? And And how did it work out? Like, how did it make your life work?
Perfect. Yes, that's right. Sorry. So I think I had seen some ads for, about being a VA, as scrolling social media, but I really didn't. I'd always, you'd heard of personal assistants, but it just didn't, I don't know, it wasn't the top of my mind. So how I really started digging into it and discovering it was I was at a place in my life. I had turned 50. My youngest had graduated high school. And to be transparent, my relationship with my husband was pretty rocky. I hadn't worked for somebody else for, what did I say, like 12 years or something. Now I had done things. I had freelance because my background was in graphic design. I did that a little bit. I led a tutoring group with our homeschool. So I had, to do 1099 things and whatever, so I did things. I volunteered a whole lot. So anyway, and then turning 50, I'm like, oh my gosh, I knew I'd go back to work somehow full time. What's now? And I'm doing my resume, Googling, how do you fill out a resume when you haven't been in the workforce for 10 years and that kind of thing. And, trying to apply for stuff. And anyway, the question, do I go back to school? Do I this, do that? So I had a couple friends that I met when I was doing my digital printable Etsy endeavor. Because I've done just about all of it, MLMs, everything. But two of the gals, we really stayed close. And so they were communicating with me, checking on me and stuff. And I sent my resume and I said, what do you think? Whatever. And so both of them came back and were like, have you ever thought about being a virtual assistant? Like, you've done these things, you have your life experience of your volunteer work. Because people would come to me and be like, hey, could you help me with, or whatever. And I was like, absolutely not. I've never thought about being a virtual assistant. So I'm a researcher. I like to research. I'm like, let me go find those ads that I saw. And so I looked through them and I signed up for different things. And of course, the algorithm sends you everything. And I found Belinda and I found VA school. And I really connected with Belinda's story. And what really clinched it for me was her mindset training, because I knew how to get, a business license from my county. But what I needed was support when I felt overwhelmed, or my imposter syndrome and all those kind of things. And so I signed up for the training that you do, the free training, and just really, really connected. And it was the best investment that I've made for myself in my entire life. I didn't want to go back into a full-time work setting. I mean, I want to be full-time, but I wanted that flexibility. My family still needs stuff. And last year, we had a death in the family. We had some things that really happened with our family, that me being able to say, I can be there, I will do the work, when it fits, and my clients were understanding. And that was just monumental for me, to be able to have the flexibility, but also be able to do a work that I'm proud of and still get paid for.
I love that. Yeah, because life happens. Life happens. And I've told the story just a little bit about how a couple of weeks ago my mom passed away, and I am definitely still processing that, and will be for a while. But the thing that stuck out was, my brothers have these big jobs and responsibilities, and they were traveling. And when it got down to it, I just said, I can go. I can go, and I went, and I decided on Tuesday, and I was there by Thursday. And, because all of us have that helper's heart,
Mm-hmm.
and so to want to be there and also to take care of all the things, this gives us the flexibility to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sandy, why don't you jump in?
So on the topic of flexibility, that was big for me, a huge adjustment. And what I'm meaning is, when I was in corporate on 24/7, like, that was it. It wasn't even a question. So for me, before I started working with Belinda, I had my first client. So I was available 24/7, and I wasn't being paid for that, but I was available because that's what you do, right? And so a lot about boundaries and setting them, and it's your business, and you can decide when you work and when you don't work. But as far as the flexibility, it has allowed me over the years. My father-in-law has since passed away, but I could go and he lived about an hour and a half away, and I could go and be with him and just work from where I was, and stop to make lunch or whatever his needs were. You couldn't do that in a corporate job, you know. And my son was in a bad accident, and I was able to be in the room with him and answer to my clients. And my clients didn't know, they didn't feel it. They just, all they knew was the work was getting done. And that to me is such a gift, honestly.
Yeah.
It was definitely an adjustment, but it's a gift. Like, just having the mindset of understanding that this is my business and I can work when when it's convenient, if there are things going on,
Right.
as
That's
long
great.
as the deadlines are met.
Thank you. Tori.
I've known a lot of these ladies for several years now, and it just surprises me every time we get together for something like this. I see how similar our paths are, and I'm just so glad that we were all able to connect, and especially with you, Belinda. Like Lori, I homeschooled. I had a corporate job, and I was really grateful that when my daughter was first born, that company gave me the opportunity to work from home, and that was really before there wasn't Zoom. I mean, we had to really think about how we could connect the computers and things like that. And I was grateful I was able to do that. But then when they wanted me to come back to the office when my daughter was 18 months old, I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. So being out of the workforce for as long as I was, I had no idea how to re-enter the workforce. And it just seemed like everything had changed. And like Lori, I did a lot of volunteering. My husband is a pastor, so there was a lot of administrative things I was able to help him with. But I thought, no one's going to pay me for to know how to do these things. No one's going to pay me for this. And just I was really scared because I didn't know what the next steps were, and I knew I wanted to go back into the workforce. Didn't know what that looked like. I didn't want my daughter to have to pay for college or anything like that, and on a single income, how were we weren't able to save as much as we wanted. So I wanted something where I could contribute to that before she really graduated and to get that done. And so I started doing research. I think my story is a little bit different because I didn't find you right away. I found some other courses and invested in those, but I was disappointed in them. They didn't answer the questions that I needed. They didn't teach me how to work with clients. They didn't teach me how to talk about being a virtual assistant the way you do. And so for me, that first year after I launched my business, that was the missing piece. I was spinning my wheels. I was frustrated. I didn't know how to promote my business, to promote myself. I knew none of that. I got my LLC, and that was pretty much it. But then I found you, and I went through the free training, and you taught me. I mean, and it was so simple. It was like a light bulb moment. It just went off, and I'm like, it's that simple. You taught me how to explain my business. I was doing jargon. I would go to people would ask me, what are you doing? And I would tell them, and you would see that glazed look on their eye, like, well, congratulations, I don't know what that is. And so that meant no one was going to be able to refer me. But during that free training, when you taught us how to talk about our business, and then you went on to talk about how to go to network meetings and how you might be able to find clients. And is it as simple as tell everyone you know? Yes, it is, because you gave me those skills. So I was really on the fence. Should I invest in another program? And like Lori, I was turning 50. And your story about how you launched your business at 50 really spoke to me. I talked to my family, and I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do this. I really think this program might help, but I was afraid of investing in another one. And you were so open and honest because you said, if you have any questions, I'm going to be on a Zoom one Wednesday night. And I didn't go to church that Wednesday night so that I could be on Zoom. And you talked to me and you answered every one of my many, many, many questions. And that was the best thing, because when people invest in themselves and invest in your program, you invest in them. And so that has been the game changer for me. And I will tell you, in 11 days, on February 5th, I'll be celebrating 5 years from launching my business. And had I not met you when I did, I would have quit. That's the difference that you and your program make.
That's awesome. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. Yeah. And I tell you the what, but you guys do it. You do it. So hats off to all of you. So we have a question from Kelly, and I'm going to put it on the screen so we can all read it. So it says, what do you wish you had known, A, before you started VA school, and B, when you graduated? This could include skills, mindset, business practices, software, client management, etc. So who would like to jump in on that?
I'll jump in. What I wish I had known before I started VA school, I wish I had known about it sooner. I feel like all those things came with getting into being a part of VA school, and then the community with, it really nourished everything. All of those things I got from being a part of VA school and the other people. So when I attended like the study halls or office hours, and we all come together and people would share about their business practices or what they had learned, or maybe a software they had tried that was really working, or somebody couldn't figure out something. So we all pitch in and help them figure it out, and managing clients. And so just that I wish I had known it several years before. But as far as any of the other things, I didn't need to know any of that before starting VA school.
Awesome. Who wants to jump in next?
I want to jump in and kind of piggyback on what Lori just said.
Okay.
Before I joined VA school or started, I wish I had known that I would make lifelong friends, that it would be easy to talk to anybody and not feel bad if a prospective client wasn't a good fit for me, because I have this huge community of really great VAs to make referrals to. And because we all do something a little bit differently, I don't ever worry about having to tell somebody no. And also that I would feel okay about telling somebody no, because I know I've got a pool of good people that I can refer them to. And so that reciprocity that we have in your community is, it's very empowering, and just makes it so much easier to talk about what I do, because I know that there's others that do similar enough things or different enough things that I can help just about anybody find what they need.
Mm-hmm. So I'm struck with both of your answers, and I love this because it just reinforces what I'm saying all the time: is it's not the skills. It's not like, do you know how to use CapCut? It really is about all the, what about this? What about that? The applications are not the things that are hard, but it's the mindset, and it's, to keep going when you're in your fear and all the other things. Yeah. Thank you. All right, well, Christy Johnston has a question that I would love for someone to jump in on. What networking or marketing strategy has brought you the most recurring clients? So I guess it's, the question is, what have you consistently done to bring a stream of clients into your business?
I'd like to talk about that if I could.
Sure.
What you start out with teaching us in the free training and then expand on that through VA school, tell everyone that you know about your business and what you're doing, and explain it in such a simple manner. That has been it. I mean, I've gone to in-person networking events in my local community. I've done some virtual networking, but mostly just having conversations with people. That has been the key to being able to do that. And I know a lot of people will join different groups and pay for that. You don't have to do that. You don't have to spend any extra money to bring those clients in if you're just out there talking about it, because you may be, at your dry cleaners or grocery store, or run into someone from high school you've not seen in 30 years, and they ask you, what are you doing? And you just mention it to them. They may not be your client, but they may know someone who is. And that's what's been so great for my business, because I was so scared to talk to people. I was so scared of what would people think. And that was the one thing we've talked, several have touched on your mindset training. That has the level of confidence I have gotten over the years of working with you and having gone through VA school and being in your community for the past 3 years. It is phenomenal. Instead of being so concerned and caring, what will people think? It's turned around where people actually come to me and ask me what I think. And that is huge. That is huge. So now I don't mind telling people what I do, and I can explain it to them. And the clients just come to you.
I love what you just said about people come to me and ask me what I think. That's true. I hadn't thought about that. That is what happens, because you build a reputation over time, and people know that you're reliable and trustworthy and all those things that make a good human. And that's great.
Can I share something before we?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
So just like Tori said, you don't have to spend a lot of money. I started out, I did Alignable, the free version. And that it is tricky, because you get in rooms where you're like, ugh, but I bring it up because I met a lady. This networking is about relationship. So that's why when you tell people that and you start there, you have a relationship with those people. They know you, and they'll be more inclined to refer you. And the same thing, I believe, goes with networking. And so on Alignable, I met a lady, and we didn't have business for each other, but we really enjoyed our conversation. And so we did a follow-up, and we really enjoyed that conversation. So we said, let's chat again in 2 weeks. And we did that. And we did that for a few times. And we talked more. I talked more about what I was doing, and her too. And she said, the guy I work with, he really needs an assistant. Our team has been telling him he needs an assistant. I'd like to introduce the two of you. And that was game changer. We met, he's been a client, he's increased work, and we can go into that later. So, but the nourishing the relationship. And then I did do some in-person things. Our Alignable, there's an Alignable group locally that we meet, and just passing out my business cards. And I got a couple clients, probably several weeks later, that called me and said, one lady, she's like, I'm frustrated with my calendar. I'm missing dates and things. I need somebody to help me get this stuff on here. And she said, I went and dug through my purse. Where's that card from Lori? And so really with relationship building, I guess, is my short answer to that, is build the relationship when you're networking. Don't go into it thinking the person you meet is going to hire you. You want that person to refer you, and you want to build the relationship with them. So meet them for coffee and talk about the weather and whatever else, put in some of that time, and that will help build great referrals.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So we have a couple more questions, and we're going to come back to those for sure. But what I want to talk about now is money. And one of the things that strikes me, because a lot of you, I tell your story during the 5-day training that we had last week. And the thing that I'm struck by over and over and over is that you guys are making serious money working part-time. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that. I'd love if you're comfortable sharing your hourly rate, where you started, where, okay, well, let me get more organized here. What you thought you could charge when you first started, where you are now. And it's not a matter of who's making the most money. It's, are you making the amount of money that you want to make? Because, some people want to be full-time. Some people want to just make $2,000 a month, and that changes their world. So Sandy, why don't we start with you? If you could talk about where you were when you started and your journey financially as a VA.
So, I mean, in corporate, I was making a lot of money, of course, and it was very scary to leave that behind because it's what you know. My work now has allowed me the flexibility. So I charge $80 an hour right out of the gate. For me, it wasn't that I didn't know what to do for skill wise. It was I didn't know how to get clients, or I did not know how to process payments, or I didn't, that was the piece that was missing, really missing for me. And then really figuring out how to attract the right clients was big. And I am right where I want to be financially. And I mean, I think the biggest thing is I absolutely love what I do. And it varies. It's not the same, like not all clients want the same type of work. So it's fun. You can geek out on some techie things, or you can, sometimes you're just doing straight scheduling. Yeah, I mean, you charge what you're worth, and don't be afraid to raise your prices when you need to. I know that many in the group have done it and successfully, and they're very pleased with themselves and their business.
Thank you. That's great. Jennifer, why don't you jump in?
Sure. So when I started my business in 2020, I could not imagine charging more than $20 an hour, because in the area where I live, that was kind of the top wage for an office administrative position. And it took me quite a while to wrap my head around the idea that I needed to not base my hourly rate on the wages in the area where I lived. And so I started at $25 an hour, and very quickly raised my rates to 40 and then 50. And I'm at $60 an hour right now, getting ready to raise my rates again for my current clients and future clients. I probably should have done that a while ago, but life was busy, and I didn't feel like I needed to. My first full year in business, I'm brought in more revenue than I had ever made in any of my regular jobs that I had working full-time. I worked those jobs full-time. I was working part-time as a virtual assistant. My income has not matched that year since then, but we've had a lot of stuff happen in our lives, in our family lives. And so I have not worked as a VA more than 15 hours a week most weeks. But that's been okay because I've been able to do things with my family. And so I'm happy is an understatement with my business and the work that I do and the income that I bring in. It just so perfectly has aligned with our family and what we needed and what I want to be doing. I also love the work that I do. It's just fantastic. The people that I've met between networking and clients is great. And so I currently am working between 15 and 20 hours a week, which is plenty for me for right now. And my clients don't blink about the emails that I send out when it's like, okay, I'm out of time, or, you're running out of hours, buy more. There's no hesitation for them to buy more hours. So it's yeah, I couldn't be happier.
That's great. Yeah, and tomorrow we're going to have a session all about pricing at noon. So it's on your calendars. Definitely attend that to learn more about pricing. Tori, you want to add one?
Sorry, is it okay if I add one more thing that I forgot?
Oh, yeah.
I do have a client that pays me $100 an hour. She gave me a raise. So I just want to say that people do that. When they love what you're doing, they will pay you more.
That's
They
great.
know your worth.
Yeah, that's right. Tori.
When I look at what my financial goals are, I'm coming back from, we were a single income family for so long. And, that was really tough. And I mentioned that I wanted to make sure that my daughter did not have any type of educational debt. So that was my goal, was to, after she had her scholarships, I didn't want her to have to pay for anything else. So my first 2 years in business, and especially after I met you and raised my prices I doubled them, I was able to pay the difference for her college. So she has no college debt. So that was one goal checked off. Another personal goal is, we had a lot of medical debt. I had been diagnosed with cancer and had been paying medical debt. And, when you have that payment every month that comes in that reminds you of such a horrible time, you want that gone. And so that was my next goal. Check that off. So I can just put that out of my mind. And then the next thing, I started my business when I was 50. So retirement is closer than it used to be. And so we've been just chunking everything that I make into retirement so that we can catch up on when we were a single income family. So one of my personal goals has always been is that you never know. I mean, things happen. I always want to make sure, because my husband has worked so hard to provide for us, that, he can kind of ease up. And so if we've had a lot of health concerns back and forth, but we're at a place now where, when he got hurt back in the spring, we didn't know how long that would be. We didn't know what would happen. What I bring in as a virtual assistant could help cover all of our bills. And so to have that type of financial freedom, to know that I can cover, I just can't tell you what a relief that is. And honestly, I don't think I would have been, I know I wouldn't be in that position had it not been for you and what you taught in the fabulous community. Because, we talk about where we get clients from. We talked about referrals, the people in the community. I think it was Jennifer who said that about, we refer to each other. I had discovery calls last week that a VA from the community put me in contact with. So when you meet Belinda, you get not just a course, you get an entire community that's got your back. And you're not alone. And I can speak from the first year when I was in business, I was completely alone and scared and didn't know anything. And then you meet Belinda, it just opens up a whole new world. And you do meet some of the best friends in your life and a community who's going to support you.
Thank you. That's great. And Lori, I'd love to hear from you.
Yes, of course. So when I started, I had freelance graphic design when I first started staying home. So that was a lot of years ago. But what I did with pricing then, and there's a point to why I'm bringing this up, is I, did the typical, look at the job, do a quote and bid, whatever. And then oftentimes the scope changes and now you're talking about money again. And so one of the things that really excited me about the VA school program with the pricing was that was the debit card system. And I know all the years my husband has always said, you don't charge enough, you don't charge enough, you don't charge enough. So when I went to set my prices, that was in my head. And all the things that Belinda had taught us, and then listening to everybody in the community. So I really at first was going to go kind of low. And then I thought, no, let me do. So I started with 50. dollars an hour, and that is more than I made per hour corporate. But I've been able, that has been a value to me for my services. I did raise my prices to 60. I haven't transitioned my current clients over to that. I started with probably 15 to 20 hours a week, depending on client needs. The first couple months as I was getting my business started, I had one project client, but then going into that, I started in June of 2024, and then going into 2025, that first quarter, I had 3-4 recurring clients at $50 an hour. And what was fantastic about it, and things were getting better with my husband and everything, we like Tori, our age with retirement, our kids in college, just the fact that it would be nice to be able to go out to dinner and not stress about, that's coming out of a, bill bucket or something, I could use that extra or my income to do that. And then really it hit me when, and this is, this is personal and very transparent, but it's a big deal. My daughter lost her first child, and we were sitting in the funeral home, and we did not have it in our joint account. Our daughter didn't have it to pay the funeral home, but I had it. I had it because I had been working as a VA, and I had been setting that money aside, and the feeling to be able to take care of it with not a word, not a conversation, not a stress of where is this money going to come to pay for the funeral services, that really brought home for me the financial freedom, the ability to save, and have that supplement to our household income, and my goal still is, I would still like to grow to a place where if something happens, and my husband, he's government, he was furloughed for whatever those 3 months or whatever that was very stressful for us as well. And, it was great that we had, I had income coming in, but I would like to get to a place where he, takes the pressure off of him and our household, and just having those things. I bought my son a computer and for college, and paid for, his textbooks and things, the gap, just like with Tori. And so yeah, I haven't thought, as far as my price going up, but it could, in the future. But definitely charging $50 was monumental for me. That felt strange, but the people around me, not just in the community, but even like my husband and those close to me who knew I've always undercharged, they were like, yeah, no less than that. That's great, and people value that and pay for the value. So think bigger, I guess, when you think of what you're going to charge an hour.
Thanks for sharing that, Lori. It really touched me. Sorry, I'm a little verklempt, right? One of the reasons why I do this as a VA and as a trainer is stories like that. To be able to, because I understand, it's like the ability to get on the plane, the ability to go to the store and like whatever my mom needed, I'm like, here you go, whatever it is, and not hesitate and not look for the least expensive thing on the menu all the time, right? Which is what I used to do. And to be able to, my daughter needed a car, and I didn't buy her a car, but man, we made it so that the payments were manageable for her. And we were just able to do that. And it's like, this business is about making money because you want a lifestyle, because you want to be generous, because, fill in the blank, all of the things that are important in our life. So it really, it means a lot that you shared that. I didn't know that about that happened for you and your daughter, and it is that, it is that. Yeah. All right. So Denise asked a question about finding and retaining clients. I feel like we've answered that. She also asked, how has AI impacted your business? And what do you do? What do you do to stay competitive in the industry? And because of the time, let's have a couple of you answer that, because I want to make sure we get all the questions answered. So I know some of you have taken courses in AI. Did somebody? Yeah, Lori. Okay, so who wants to jump in on that?
I can if nobody else wants to. So my perspective on AI is similar to what it was when I first learned how to use like Adobe Photoshop. It's a tool. It's a tool that's there, and I wanted to dive into it and learn it so that I understood the tools and what was happening. And as I began to do that, I realized it's integrated in everything. So we did. Some of us did a specific AI training for VAs, and I've continued to dive in and dig into it. So I actually have one of my clients who supports that. He shares his ChatGPT account with me. We do brainstorming, some of the image generation, and so I'm actually doing it with clients, and then for those clients that are not like him, I have been working on sharing, like in my newsletter, how I integrate AI as a tool in my business. And so I use like ClickUp for my project management. It has AI agents and different things within it and can do workflows and stuff like that. And so I've been sharing that in my newsletter. So I try to also disclose if I am using it and in what way. It's a conversation I have with my clients, and it's not been an issue, but I highly, I feel like it's a good thing to learn. It's not going to go away. So it's only beneficial to learn.
Yeah, that's great. Jennifer, did you want to say something?
So my primary service offering is bookkeeping, and there's a lot of chatter in the accounting and bookkeeping industry about AI taking over all of our jobs, and it's the major bookkeeping and accounting software have integrated AI, and my experience with that has been that they're wrong more often than they're correct. And I am not really worried about it because you will always need an actual person to look at the transactions and the organization of your accounts to make sure that they are correctly accounted for. And because that's my primary service offering, I have not done a lot with using AI as a tool yet. I kind of decided I'd let some of my peers do that first, and then I will pick up after they've sorted out all the gory details, and also know that I can always refer somebody out if I have a client that has a need for in-depth AI guidance or instruction or tasks. So it's a tool. It's not a big gory monster, and it's like your computer. It feeds back to you what you put into it. So keep that in mind. And
yeah, thank you. I didn't mean to interrupt you. But that's a really true statement. It feeds back to you what you put into it. So yeah, it's a tool. I had a job and I had a typewriter, and then I got a computer and I still had a job. And so it is a tool. And I agree. I use it almost all day, doing different things. And at least so far, we still need a human. We definitely need a human. So I want to jump into to Kelly's question. Which is what types of tasks do you specialize in? Are they the same ones you specialized in when you first started your business? Do you see yourself moving to different types of tasks soon? Who wants to jump in on that?
I can jump in on that.
Okay.
So when I first started out, I was trying to do all the things because it came from corporate where, you just kind of do this and you do what you're told. And I thought, okay, if I'm going to be out here, I need to know how to do all the things that I hadn't even heard of before. And then I ended up eventually gravitating to my people, or they found me rather, which is, executives, entrepreneurs, business coaches, financial planners, more regimented folks. But I learned so much. So I can do anything from scheduling social media, which I'd never heard of before. I'd heard of it, but never done it or understood how it worked, to scheduling, to booking a personal trip or a business trip, to scheduling doctor appointments. I mean, people will pay you to help organize their life. So no matter where you are, Belinda, I know, says this, it does just start where you are and then go from there and figure out what it is that you want to do. You don't have to know all the things. I think it brings me back to an earlier question. What do you wish you knew? Like, I wish I knew that I did not need to know all the things. You just don't. You will figure it out, and it comes naturally, and just have fun with it.
Can I piggyback real quick off of
Yeah, you bet.
you said? So I had mentioned that my background was in graphic design, but when I started my VA business, I didn't want to do really that. That wasn't what I primarily wanted to do. If I wanted to do that, I feel like I would go back to freelancing. So anyway, so I started with your calendar management, email inbox, and which I had done for myself and from volunteer stuff, but not really heavy. And the community, as we've said over and over, the community and Belinda's training and her deep dives, all of that really helped scaffold those kind of tasks that I really didn't have as much experience in as I did with like the graphic design stuff. Now I have had some clients that have said, oh, you have that as a background. Could you do this and this? And so I'll do little things, but refer the rest. But yeah, I started out doing things that I really didn't have a background to support in. So you don't have to have a whole bunch of knowledge, like Belinda says.
Yeah, it's so, thank you. It's so crazy. Yesterday, I wanted to learn a new technology to me, and I had been putting it off because I thought, so and this gets to AI. I thought, oh, this could be really complicated. It's going to take my whole day. And it's some video editing software. And I actually talked to it. I typed, but I was like, can you change the background to blue? And can you make it this? And I want this font. And it was just editing the video right in front of me. And so many tools are like that are out there. But would any of my clients want to do that? Not in a million years. So I'm out there geeking out, learning this new thing that I was intimidated by. And so that's kind of the exciting part, because I know, a lot of us have very active brains, and we worry about, is this going to be boring, and it's not at all, but in a really good way. All right, so what I'd like to do is I'd like to open it up for a minute and have each one of you, I guess, bring it home, and what I'm wondering is there something that, because I know when I'm on a panel, there's usually something like, I really want to talk about this one thing, so is there anything that you feel that we left out of the discussion that you want to say as we wrap up to the people who are listening?
I'd like to say something. I think, for me, to wrap it all up, I was so scared that I didn't know what I didn't know. And I think when you keep an open mind and that willingness to learn, when you start out your business, you think, I can't turn anything that anyone asks me down. And so you want to learn. And I'm a people pleaser. So if I had someone say, can you do this? Very honestly, it was either, oh, yes, I can, or I don't know, but I can find out. And through that, I learned a lot of skills. So to kind of go back to one of the previous questions we just had, I mean, when I first launched my business, I took on assignments and projects and tasks that I knew nothing about. But the client was willing to pay me to learn it so that they didn't have to. I learned to build a website. I can do it. Do I love it? No. Is that a service that I'm actively offering now? No, but I've done it. I designed and built ClickFunnels for a client. I ran Facebook ads. Those were things that I did starting out. I didn't know anything about them, but I learned them. And then I discovered that's not what I enjoy doing. So I don't offer those as services now. So, just because you start out, you may think you don't have the skill set. If you start where you are with the things you know and have that willingness to learn, you're going to build your own business. And that's the thing. It is your business. You are not working. You're not an employee. And you can say no. I think it was Jennifer who said, it's okay to say we're not a good fit. And we're so eager to want to get those clients coming in. We'll say yes to everything, and you don't know what you don't know. And so you're gonna get matched with a client that you're like, oh, it's not a good fit. And it's okay to say it's not going to work. You're growing, you're learning, you're always going to do that. And so don't be afraid. And that's the thing. Don't be afraid. And with Belinda and the community, I just cannot say it enough. If you don't know something, I would say 99% of the time Belinda does. And Belinda doesn't hold that information in. I mean, and there's no question that is stupid. I always felt like I can't ask a question. Someone's going to think I'm stupid. No. You don't ever feel that way, because if you don't know the answer, there's someone else who doesn't as well, and they're going to learn. And with the community, Belinda always says it's never a competition. And you think that can't be. I mean, we're a competitive society. The community that Belinda has built, I have gotten more support, more clients. If I run across something I don't know, I just have to put a message in the community, or I have made friends through VA school that I can just send them a message. We'll hop on a Zoom call and figure things out. It's so supportive. And my only regret was I went a year before I found Belinda.
Thank you, Tori. I appreciate it. Who wants to go next? And I know you guys are only here to the top of the hour, so if you have a client obligation, please.
I'll jump in here real quick. So my closing advice is figure out your 3 things and your elevator spiel, or I don't remember what you call it, Belinda.
The referral formula.
Yes. Figure that out, practice it. Take a walk, practice it. Drive it in the car, practice it so that it rolls off your tongue without thinking about it. And it makes it really easy to introduce yourself and tell people about your business. Do that. Use the debit card system. Call it what you want. Doesn't matter. But use it. It's really easy. It's the best way to get paid. And I talked earlier about primarily offering bookkeeping. For a while, I thought I was going to do only bookkeeping and not take on any other clients. And then I found I missed the other stuff. And so charging hourly is really unusual for an accountant or a bookkeeper. Most charge a monthly basis, but what it gives me is more flexibility to do all of the things. And so while I might have a client who starts out with bookkeeping for me, I'm able to support them in other ways. And I don't have to keep track of, is this going against their bookkeeping time, or is this going against their admin time, or whatever. It totally adds to that flexibility that being a VA gives you. So, and then the other thing is everything's figure outable. So those are the 3 things that I want you to go home with. This is a really great community. I don't know anybody that's regretted going through VA school, and we absolutely can make it work.
Thank you. Anyone else want to close us out?
I have just a couple things. My closing advice is to trust the process and go through all the modules. Even if it's a module you think, well, I already know how to do that. Go through each module. And as far as my big takeaway from joining VA school, it has taught me that I am capable.
That's awesome. Thank you. Sandy, did you want to jump in?
I just want to say that it is the choice that you make to sign up for VA school if you're on the fence. it is worth every penny. You will make the money back 100%. And I don't even, I'm not a salesperson, so just you'll make it all back, and you will not regret it. And the biggest thing is to follow Belinda's advice, because I know we've all done it. I did, especially. I'm like, oh, I don't need to do that. And then I'm like, then when I started to do whatever it was that I wasn't doing, like the sprinkling, I don't know if you've covered that yet in your 5-day course.
A little bit, yeah.
Sprinkling is everything. All you're doing is writing to the people you know. Hey, how are you? And all of my business has really been referrals, or people that found me on LinkedIn because I'm linked in with someone that they know. So.
Right. That's great. Thank you. Good. All right. Well, a big thank you to our panelists for being so generous with your stories. And now I just want to talk to you guys. I'm going to push a button I've never pushed before. So everybody put your seatbelt on. Okay, it worked. All right. So I want to talk to you guys real quick, and then I'm going to go say thank you to our panelists in person. But you just heard from 4 women, right? Real women, real businesses, real results. And they weren't more qualified than you. They weren't less afraid than you. They didn't have it all figured out before they started. They just decided. So I want to ask you directly, what are you waiting for? And you've done the work, this last week. You know what you want. You know what's been stopping you. And the only question is, like these women, are you willing to bet on yourself? So VA school enrollment closes tomorrow at midnight. You can go to thevaschool.com. And I want you in the room with me, especially if you're still here. There's a reason you're still here after all these hours and hours with me. And I know it's possible for you. I've seen it hundreds of times, and I saw it on this panel today, and I know you did too. And I want you to see what's available for you. So before we go, I just want to tell you really quickly about a new bonus that's included when you sign up for VA school. It's called Indispensable VA Skills. And it's a bonus course that has all the essential skills in it that you need to run your business successfully. It's so brand new that it's not even finished yet. We have 2 modules that are finished on email inbox management and client calendar management. So everything you need to know about that. Video editing basics is going to drop in February. And then we have lots of other skills like social media scheduling, digital file management. All of those will be completed by the end of the year. So here's what's coming up, you guys. Tonight at 7, we have an open house on Zoom. So come ask your questions and meet other people who are deciding. Tomorrow at noon, we have a bonus session, How Thriving VAs Get Paid. And then tomorrow we are having another Zoom call as well. Midnight tomorrow, the doors close. So if you already know this is your next step, don't wait. Go to thevaschool.com and enroll right now. And I'll see you all on the inside. Thank you so much for coming.